Today on my show, I'll be talking with Alex Pulec, the Chief Operating Officer of Console Pro, a up-and-coming teledentistry company. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity to talk to you, Alex. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Mike.
So Alex, you and I have talked a lot, and although you do a lot of teledentistry, your roots really aren't in teledentistry, Console Pro, and you kind of look at yourself as an overall software company. Can you just tell the viewers a little bit about Console Pro so they can get familiar with your company?
Absolutely. So we started off as a patient education case presentation company back in about 1999, early 2000. We really got rolling more publicly. And, we've been the leader with patient education videos and treatment option videos, risks, things like that. And over the last 18, 19 years, we've developed into a full dental software. So, doing imaging, brochures, treatment planning, scheduling, metrics, and financials, things like that.
That's interesting. I know, as you know, I've worked in medical and dental with a lot of different software companies, and patient education, both in medical and dental, has been such a big part. And there's always been all these third-party plugins with dental software and medical software, but you guys started as a patient education company. Can you talk a little bit, when people think about patient education, they just think about, okay, I'm going to have a dental software, medical software, and then, oh, by the way, I'm going to present an image or I'm going to present a video, right? But you guys have much more than that in terms of patient education. You've developed workflows and other things around the patient education experience. So can you talk a little bit about all the types of features and functions you have that maybe people don't think about when they think about presenting patient education?
Absolutely. So besides the videos on risks, those are really important. Treatment options are important, but we have a lot of videos on risks. But different tools like emailing, doing custom emails to them, automatic record keeping. So as a lot of clinicians know, you need to record all of your consults when you're showing those treatment options or risks. And if someone's not writing it down, it has to do that. So what we do is it automatically records everything, and you can gather signatures for informed consent directly in the software when you're showing those videos during your consult. So, it protects you from any kind of litigation, and it's a very clear history of everything gone over. There are difficult patients. So, but besides that, you can customize the videos as well. So if you have a dental philosophy that isn't exactly in the way it's portrayed in the video, you can change the text. You can even record your own voice over it, and there's tools within this.
So talk to me a little bit about compliance. You had mentioned liability, and everybody, ears perk up around here. Oh, liability and audits, right? That's just the nature of healthcare, right? But the compliance aspect, from our previous conversations, it sounds like if I'm a dentist, I'm a dental provider, and let's say I choose to send a video, let's say online, for my patient to review, you can record that, right? So basically, you have the ability. So if a patient comes back and says, hey, you know what do you mean I didn't follow your instructions? I never saw anything about it. You can actually check them on that, can't you, from a compliance standpoint?
Yeah, everything was recorded from a compliance standpoint. And even for risk aversion, you can easily gather signature so that if someone's going to, basically sleep on filling one missing tooth, that in a couple years that may progress to more atrophy and recession, and that the work and the costs that are going to be incurred to fix that may double in a year or two. So when that person does come back and they hear a quote that's double, they're going to get upset, understandably, but at least you have a history going back saying, right, we told you it was going to cost this. We educated you on what would happen if you didn't do the treatment, which is just as important.
That's a great point. So talk to me a little about the journey into the whole teledentistry area, from being a patient education company with other software features as well. I'm always interested in how people have kind of evolved into teledentistry and where that came from.
Well, it just seems simple to us. I mean, telehealth was a service that we have here that is basically online, or excuse me, not online, but basic consultations over the phone regarding different health issues, and it's pretty helpful. So we thought, why don't we take the experience of the consultation room treatment coordinator and make it a virtual treatment coordinator using something called eConsult that we created. And really, just the way we're talking right now, it's just like if we were in front of each other in a room. But now we have all the patient education materials, we have all the risk materials, we can gather signature online, we can fill out any kind of forms and share documents with that patient. So before COVID even hit, we were thinking that this would be a great tool to save a lot of people time if they're, especially if they're driving more than 30, 40 minutes to visit their dentist in the first place. Now you can have a 15-minute consultation online during a lunch break or something, saving both the office and the patient time. Most things could be discussed and patients could receive the education they need in a face-to-face teledentistry consultation just like this.
You know, it's interesting, especially speaking of patient education and teledentistry. So I would think that if I'm your patient, you're the dentist, right? And if you can provide me with not just the video consult with you and myself talking, but also a lot of support educational materials that I can even review after the visit, I would think I would be a more informed patient and possibly be able to comply more with any treatment planning I needed, or because I have more of a chance, right, to really get educated more than just sitting in the chair and all of a sudden having to make decisions. Are you finding that that's the case where patients using your platform are just more informed and maybe even more compliant towards treatment planning options?
Absolutely, because the way the platform is designed is is to show options and not just have patients take doctors for their word. And more patients are hungry for information. They're the most self-educated. Everybody knows what the bridge is. They'll usually do their own research in terms of bridges and implants coming in, but they really hunger for more of a professional opinion, showing them all their options and the risks. And if you can follow up by emailing things like this and getting the consent, just more powerful. And even the psychology of sitting face to face discussing an issue like this versus if a patient is in the chair on their back and you're hovering over them saying, okay, you have to do this and this and this, and it's going to cost you that much. Even the psychology of giving patients that option in an operatory chair as they're on their back when they can't see the materials and really feel comfortable about it is huge when determining case acceptance rates.
That's great. So talk to me a little bit. When we think about teledentistry today, I think most dentists, dental practices, and groups think of just the video aspect of it, right? We're doing a video consult, whether it's Zoom, whether it's a proprietary software, whatever, video consult. But there are evolving use cases and evolving features and functionality around the teledentistry workflow, right? So can you talk a little bit about Consult Pro, what you're doing now, and maybe what you're planning without giving away the secret sauce, right? But maybe what you're planning as a company in the near to medium term future that won't just be the video consults, but will be other supporting functionality around teledentistry.
Yeah, thanks. So, eventually we're going to be. I'm just going to start that one more time. So right now, other than the videos, we have template of notes that are customized that you can create. So basically, you create your note templates, and then you just click and drag them over, and they're all categorized by type, whether it's medical note, financial note, staff note, because these are referrals even. And to save time typing everything up, you can create that beforehand. As well, we can. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to say that's interesting because, as you know, one of my really passions in dentistry the last few years has been to bring electronic health records and better clinical documentation using software into dentistry. And it kind of sounds like, tell me if I'm correct, a lot of people don't understand the idea of a templated note, but it sounds like you have those within your solution. So basically, a dentist using your solution doesn't necessarily have to use their dental software to record things, right? To record the visit, right? They can drag and drop, and they can, radio buttons and drop downs to document the visit. And that in turn, now I might understand that that will also be in a database as separate data, just like I would normally think of an electronic health record. Is that the case?
Yeah, and it's twice encrypted too. We take security extremely, extremely highly. It matters a lot to us, and it's actually the reason why we don't use Zoom either. Nothing wrong with Zoom, but they have had some security issues, so we don't particularly use that platform. But yeah, the notes is great, and even brochures and forms to follow up with is really helps move things along as well. Other than the notes, now we've introduced reporting data and metrics into our system, so you can actually view how many videos you've sent to patients in general and which providers have sent how many videos, what kind of videos, how many emailed, how many shown. So now you can really understand how your patient, what kind of videos your patients are watching, what's performing the best. And if you're using part of our software that does billing, you can actually track the billing per procedure and then really get an idea of the office and production and where things can be tweaked and fixed.
That's great, Alex, because we hear a lot about analytics, right, these days. Analytics and business intelligence relates to cash flow, accounting, financial aspect of your business. But being a patient education company, it's interesting. What you're talking about is actually metrics and analytics surrounding how people use patient education. That's fascinating. I haven't heard of that before. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what you're doing now? Can you expand on what you were talking about with metrics, with analytics regarding patient education experience, and then kind of where you think it could go if you look down the line with patient education metrics and analytics?
Well, I think it's just a great way to really understand what people are looking for. You really can understand your team, and let's say you have hygienists, and you can really have them use specific videos on their patients, and then you can track how many have been shown. And I guess in terms of the future, data is key, as we all know, but in terms of managing an office, and especially when you get into multiple offices, being able to track the usage of the education, the kind of education, and as well the billing that coincides, especially when you start having 2, 3, 4, 5 practices, it's invaluable information that takes hours and hours to do the ledgers and actually compile, the financials for each month, and then you'll never even know what you billed for what procedure. You could, but it takes a long time. But this is instant, so the kind of time it saves is pretty great, and it's a web-based application, so that could be accessed remotely anywhere with an internet connection. If an office manager or whoever's running the office needs to, look into these things.
So I assume if, let's say, somebody didn't want to use the teledentistry part or other parts, that your patient education solution, the patient education part, I assume, since you've been doing it for so long, that you either integrate or work with a lot of dental software vendors, right? In other words, if somebody has vendor A, vendor B, or vendor C software, they could still use your patient education solution, correct? And all the bells and whistles surrounding it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually mainly used alongside practice management systems like Tracker or Dentrix, whatever. And we're used as our product called Chairside Connect, which is the patient education side. That's the most popular, but more and more, as we're seeing, is we're trying to simplify the tech stack for a lot of clinicians and have one software that does pretty much everything. So, right now, what it can do is the imaging, the patient education, and the treatment planning, and the billing. And we have some users that have the higher tier products. So now they're using 4 different softwares, one for this, one for imaging, one for billing, patient education, something on their website, and something in the waiting room, let's say. So that's 5 different softwares, 5 different bills. What we're trying to do is simplify that into one software that you can use to edit the TV, what's being shown to patients, track the billing, create the brochures and the forms, whatever it is. So yeah, we're used alongside some practices just as the education, but slowly we're seeing clinicians want to simplify that tech stack and really use one software to do everything.
No, I totally agree with you. In fact, recently I did a webinar on dental software, and as part of the research, I talked to a lot of clients of mine, colleagues, they're dentists and dental practices, about problems, right, that they have regarding technology. And it's exactly like you're saying. There's just a lot of stuff out there that help you, but they're all so many disparate solutions, right? And even if they interface, there's still different UIs. They're just different. You have to learn each one differently. And so I think I'm seeing a trend towards trying to put these things together in what you call one stack, which is exciting that you're doing that. So I'm going to do a geek question real quick, okay? And obviously some of my viewers might just glass over us, but when it comes to interfacing different solutions, we talk about APIs, right? APIs hook solutions into other solutions basically on a very basic level, right?
Right.
I know that companies like Dentrix and other companies have presented software vendors with you with certain APIs, but obviously a vendor can only give you so much ability to do so much, right? When you look
Absolutely.
down the road, you're going to have a lot of features and functionality and database information, right? Do you see that you'll ever have APIs? So if I'm a developer, I can work with your software and do things with it with maybe my software. Is that something that might be in the cards later on, or are you working on things like? Because I'm always interested in how vendors use APIs. Is it just kind of other vendors they have them? Are they developing their own? So maybe just quickly, you can talk a little bit about the technology part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very sympathetic to APIs and working with other softwares and opening that up, as well as the company. So that is something we're certainly thinking about doing. Part of what's inspired that is the lack thereof of APIs from some of these bigger practice management companies, even with just importing a patient list. Something that's integral. We can do it now. We figured out ways around it when working with these softwares, but for so many years, they would just keep that door locked, and with good reason. So privacy is an issue, but sometimes, it's very competitive out there, and, there are other reasons to do that. But now that we have found a way to do the most integral bridging with these softwares, moving forward, if we were, let's say, use in a clinic to run the whole thing, so do the patient education and the billing, yeah, we're definitely thinking about opening up APIs so we can connect more with a newer software that comes out that maybe does other things besides what we do. So for instance, there's things that generate Google reviews and
Right.
like recalling software. We want, at the end of the day, what's going to make it easier for the clinicians, because that's what we're trying to do here, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're in a much more patient demanding society as things move on. Patients want more and more. They expect more and more. They'll have apps on their phones. They go to the web all the time. And so that's why, to your point, more functionality is just demanded all the time. And, as kind of an ex-techie person, an ex-IT software development manager, when I talk to companies, I always like to see, are they working towards opening up their software so people that do want to develop can develop some really great applications. So what I'd like to do is kind of close a little bit by looking at the future. And I love doing this with tech leaders like yourself that have companies, because you have some similar thoughts and you have different thoughts, right? Everybody's a little bit different. So if you can talk to me about, number one, to go back to teledentistry and the whole virtual world online of dentistry. Talk to me a little bit about where in the few years you think that's going to go. And then also, if you can then segue into Consult Pro itself and how you look at your company 5 years from now. So that's a double-sided question. So I'll just let you kind of answer both of those.
For sure. I think teledentistry is only going to grow. E-consults and having online portals where patients can have, their their different health records and files like EHR kind of stuff. I think that's the demand for it is only growing more and more, and COVID's certainly helping this. Even before, you know, it's just more demand in terms of technology. Everybody wants to go in that direction, so it's definitely not going anywhere. We are going to be developing with that in mind, moving forward. For us, we just some next steps without getting telling too many of the secrets is we want to add more sophistication to an asynchronous platform. So something where different clinicians or they could be all dentists or even a patient's cardiologist and a dentist could collaborate more on a teledentistry platform. So at the same time or separately, and this is an important thing. A lot of the viewers may not know, but if you have a heart murmur, for instance, there's a lot of dental work you can't get done. Very simple stuff, even a cleaning, scaling. So now we can actually have those records cross-pollinate. Different clinicians can log in and do these things. And right now it takes so long between getting printouts from this doctor, sending them to this clinic and that clinic. A lot of time, it's messy. So moving forward, we really want to focus on asynchronous and collaborative diagnosing for patients moving forward within the dental.
I'm really glad you're bringing that up because, the video console is just one thing, but where the real power is, I'm right on board with you. I really believe in it, is the collaboration that can take place behind the scenes with different specialists, bringing in the patient. In medicine, we have something called medical home, and some people are calling it dental home now, which is a patient-centric approach to their healthcare, where all their different providers can collaborate and talk. To that point, I have a question. I just was thinking of something. So one of my goals in dentistry, right, is to help bring medicine and dentistry more together because it has to be, like you said, oral health is a part of healthcare, right? So to that point, we are going to see more and more medical providers collaborating with dental providers on different types of cases. You're very unique in that you have all this patient education material. Do you have patient education material on the medical side as well? Do you work with medical? The reason I bring that up is because I can imagine a collaboration where I'm a periodontist and then I'm collaborating with a general physician, right, for my patient, and I want to see things medically or dental. Can you bring in a collaboration using teledentistry? Can you bring both medical and dental types of patient education so we can both share our knowledge with our spheres?
Yeah, so you can do that right now, essentially, which is great, and that's been really important to us. And we will be adding more videos that relate to things like that. Right now, they're all very much dental specific.
Okay.
But that was a great question with the periodontist. So, for instance, if somebody has an eating disorder, or if they heavy smoker, or if they were just pregnant, for instance. But let's stick with the first example. Gum loss is very prevalent. So you lose a lot of gum when you're malnutrition. So even having the ability for a doctor or a therapist to collaborate with the dentist or a periodontist who's going to have to be building up those gums and then talking about the post-op care and any kind of patient behavior, which is important. These are all really important for the betterment of someone's health. It's all the doctors working together.
Right. And what's really interesting is if, let's say, I'm a general physician and I have a patient that has an abscess and oral health problem and they're being treated by a dentist. Now, through asynchronous teledentistry in your patient education, well, if I'm a general, let's say I don't understand abscesses or whatever because I'm a general physician, I can get more educated by using your videos, right? So basically, your videos might be very valuable in your patient education material, not just for the patient itself, but for other providers, whether medical or dental, to actually see the issue, see what's going on. So it's really exciting that you also have this niche, and I'm fascinated with what you're doing with patient education and where it's going to lead. I wish we had more time, and we'll definitely talk more again. But I appreciate your time today for giving us a little bit of insight into Consult Pro, some of the work you're doing, and I really look forward to kind of keeping the line open with you and seeing what kind of innovative features you folks come up with in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Mike. Yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Take care.
Bye.